Our next presenter is Joanne Geddes, Lead Engineering Capability Manager at Network Rail. And she has recently undertaken a part-time secondment with the Department for Transport to help the Transport Research Innovation Board explore how they might measure innovation across their portfolio. So, Jo, can you share the insights from the use of this methodology in your transport sector?
Thank you, Matt. My substantive post is with Network Rail, where I've worked for about 10 years. But as Matt said, I recently did some work on behalf of the Department for Transport. And today I'm going to talk to you about the perspective that I have of the Janssen methodology through that piece of activity. So I was introduced to the methodology that we're talking about today through the piece of work that I was doing for a national board of the DFT. The board is known as the TRIB board, many acronyms in the world of government. This particular one stands for Transport Research and Innovation Board, and that board brings together funders and leaders in transport and innovation. The way in which they structure their work is through a number of different themes, and the particular piece of research that I was doing was commissioned against the theme of smart, digital, robotic and off-site construction and maintenance. The task that I was given was to look into how the DFT could measure value, success and the impact of innovation across transport projects. So it's quite a broad brief that I was given. My first thought about that was that it contained many nouns in there that were in fact entirely subjective and lack meaning without context. So I was thinking that what I actually needed was some kind of methodology that provided that meaning, that gave those subjective terms definition and enabled the DFT to make comparisons and identify opportunities, which I believe was implicit in the task that I was given. So in terms of how I would define those terms personally, I think I would look at innovation as being the scope of the projects where the innovation is being carried out. The value is a definition of the measures, and the comparison comes from being able to provide those two pieces of information in a way which is consistent and enables like to be shared with like. So the slide that you can see at the moment really contextualizes some of the scope and diversity that exists within the transport sector. So projects in this sector can be large, they can be time consuming, and they can be innately complex. So how can you compare value and innovation in a project which exists to construct an airport runway against a project which is replacing and electrifying rail? Well, you can see in these pictures that there are instinctively some synergies there. With my railway hat on, they're all what we would call in the railways linear assets. So there will undoubtedly be practice and methods in the use of building a motorway or a runway that will apply to rebuilding a railway. And we should absolutely be able to share our innovation across sectors and our learnings that stem from our project activity. So when I was invited to attend the presentation on the Janssen methodology, I immediately saw the potential of its ability to deliver exactly what the DFT were looking for. I saw a very simple, flexible and expansive approach that could be embedded quite simply into existing project delivery methods. The metrics and algorithms that Tersh has already spoken about could absolutely be made meaningful to the transport community. I think what really impressed me though was that it went beyond the traditional boundaries of the projects and looked at some of the things that Tersh has talked to you about, such as the secondary benefits. And for us in the railway, I guess that's things like biodiversity, waste, energy and carbon, the things which are probably familiar to all of us who are on this session. But it also goes another step. It goes into the societal impacts, which for government organisations is an extremely important factor. So to be able to relate and measure social value from government projects and innovations is immensely powerful. And I think this methodology will help us to do that. And it will also help us to embed, should we wish, relevant guidance, such as the existing thinking on carbon and waste. So I guess you're getting the theme here that I'm quite a big fan of this methodology. I think it's fantastic, and I remain excited by its potential. So I left my secondment with the DFT a couple of months ago, but the methodology lingered on with me in my brain, and I began to consider how it could be used within my own organisation. So our own asset portfolio is very diverse. What you're seeing on here are some examples of bridges. We've been building bridges since the Victorian era, and we continue to build them using innovative methods. We have to also consider innovation in how we manage these Victorian assets that we have. So it's definitely of relevance to us. At the heart of everything that we do in Network Rail is safety and performance. They are our key operational objectives. And every time we run a project to build a new bridge or maintain a new bridge, undoubtedly our safety and performance statistics are effective. So I do believe that the methodology has the potential to actually embed that thinking and those metrics and link project activity right through to organisational objectives. And another factor of our organisation is our structure. So we've recently entered another phase of what we call devolution. So we aren't one single business, we are a central business with a number of devolved businesses which exist at national level. So that gives us another level of complexity where we need to measure and compare and recognise good practice. So again, I think this is where the model can help us to do that and provide us with an information perspective on project data that we're not currently or consistently collecting. So this slide is really a summary of what I think is great about the model and what makes it so valuable. I'm not planning to read through all of them, but to make it work with some kind of transport focus, I recognise that it will involve some upfront work and effort to calibrate those metrics. But I do think a lot of the metrics that are already in place with the off-site flavour to the model would remain valuable. I also think that the process of calibration is a valuable process in itself, and it will bring together the community to have a shared understanding and consensus on terms. So, you know, I think the whole process from start to finish will help the transport sector enormously. There's a well-known saying that all models are wrong, but some are useful. My view on this is it's an extremely useful model, and I actually view it as an innovation in itself because it goes beyond what I've ever seen and experienced existing benefit models do. So just to bring this back to the original purpose of my DFT research, you can see in the black my original models from my research. Well, for me, the innovation, as I said up front, comes from the assessed projects that get pushed into the pipeline of this methodology. It's up to the transport sector to define what it determines innovation to be. And I think that goes beyond some of the traditional sort of technical solutions into things like business models, but that's up to the people who wish to use the model to define. The value comes very much from the specific metrics, which, as I said, are immensely tailorable. And by combining these two things, we enable a consistent method for comparison and for identifying opportunity, because I think this is actually what the DFT were asking for. So just to conclude where we're up to now, on exiting my secondment from the DFT, I left them with a very strong recommendation that we should look into this model. My recommendation was that we actually chose the small asset area. I identified their projects related to bridges, and we just push some of that data through and see what comes out of the other side. Within my own organisation, I've been very vocal about the benefits of this model, and I do think it presents us with something that we don't currently have. We have lots and bits and bats of this, but we don't have consistent methodology that we can run across our devolved business and our devolved asset portfolio. So again, a similar recommendation for my own Masters within Network Rail. Let's give it a go. Let's see how it flies and push some projects through it. Because in summary, I see this as a very, very powerful benefit model which has potential in any project setting. And I do hope that it finds a place within the transport sector. And I hope that by running proof of concepts, it will start to allow information about opportunity and data to emerge and become transparent in a way that it currently isn't. So thank you very much for the honour of being here today and me the chance to talk about my thoughts on it. Thank you very much.